Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It's the day after whereas Wednesday, so it's time for my Survivor recap. So to recap, basically dealing with the Hannah quit last week. And I want to make it clear, it was not a vote out. She quit. Later in the episode when it gets to the immunity challenge, Jeff always says, like, take a good look at the new so-and-so tribe. So-and-so voted out of the last tribal council. He said Hannah voted out the last tribal council. She was not voted out. She quit. She would have either been voted out. Well, we don't know for sure. She could have been her or Brandon. But she said regardless, she's going to go home tonight. So she said if she has to quit, she will quit. And it was a quit. And I've said this in other Survivor recap videos and other Survivor videos before, but I do not respect quitters. Everybody has their own reason for coming out to Survivor, and granted, each person that quits has their own reason for quitting, but that spot could have went to somebody that wouldn't have quit on Survivor. So you basically wasted a spot for somebody whose dream is to play Survivor and who, yes, it's hard, the elements are hard out there, but wouldn't quit. They'd stick it out and be voted out with grace and dignity than being a forgotten quitter, because nobody remembers quitters. So yeah, rant over. So they're dealing with that, and there's a little back and forth between Emily and Sabaya. Basically, Sabaya was pissed at Emily because she basically called her out at tribal council, and Emily was kind of pissed because people don't really understand her. And I kind of get Emily because, a lot of people don't get to know me as somebody who's on the spectrum. People don't want to get to know me at all. And she might come across as, I wouldn't say Emily's in your face, but she might come across as like, I wouldn't even say ignorant, but just doesn't think before she speaks. It might come across as like, oh, she's like this persona of like being like tough as steel, but she's really, a person, like a genuine person. She just has a hard time relating to other people. But I didn't understand why Sabaya was so pissed, because they are a pair. Her and Caleb are a pair. And as we all know, every Survivor fan knows that pairs are one of the most dangerous things on that game. So she was basically calling her out for telling the truth. Then we saw later in the episode, it confirmed what Emily said. You see Sabaya and Caleb and Sean all together. So they're the power trio in this thing. And right now, they have the numbers because they lost Hannah last week. So not saying this is how it'll go, but if they wanted to, they could just pick off Brandon and Emily one by one. The rest of the tribes, there doesn't seem to be any rivalries. Julie on Reba is like the mom of the group, and she even admits it, like that she's like Mama J out there. And I think if I was on Survivor, that would almost be my downfall, because I tend to gravitate more toward people that are that will mom me, and it's kind of more like the authority figures. So I would probably gravitate more toward people that are older than people my own age, because people my own age are unfortunately ignorant. So yeah, and usually if there's a group of people and they see you're on the outs, they're gonna vote the person on the outs first. So yeah. And Blue Tribe, again, there doesn't seem to be any rivalries or anything, but they do seem to be getting annoyed with Bruce. Now keep in mind, he was only on Survivor for like one episode because he was medevac, but he's talking like he's Boston Rob out there, playing like how many different times, like he's an expert in Survivor, and people are starting to get annoyed. And Katura, sorry if I say the names wrong, Katura brought up a good point. She said that he's kind of like hiding behind himself in a way, because he's saying like all these stories and saying like do this, do that, and people are like idolizing the fact that, oh my God, this is Survivor player on here. We got to listen to everything they say. When in reality, they don't realize what a threat he is, and they're keeping him going till they realize, oh, he's made it to the end. So Bruce is actually more dangerous than people are realizing. And they seem to be having, good conversations out there. They were talking about, one of the funnier ones, Dee was talking about how her one big toe, I mean, obviously big toes are bigger, but hers is significantly bigger than most, and it was just like a good time. And then even Julie and Drew like gravitates more toward Julie, like I do, but Julie was saying that her closest alliance is Dee, but she also wants Drew to think that she needs him out there, that he needs her out there. So, as we saw last week, Austin has the beware advantage, and he has to kind of decode an idol. And I have to give some of these people credit. They are very, very quick to notice something is up with their tribe flag, and they're trying to decode it themselves. And Austin ended up being able to decode it, but that's just only one of the tasks. Sabaya, no, Brandon actually found the idol, but again, this season, it's all about completing the tasks to get the idol. And what does Brandon do? He gives it to Sabaya. So I'm like, oh my fucking God. I was just like, I can't believe you basically just gave her the idol. And she got it. And this also brings up another interesting topic. I know some people might be confused about how this would work. So basically, Brandon did find the advantage. However, he gave it to Sabaya, so that advantage is now Sabaya. That beware advantage was not open. It's whoever opens it is the person who is possession it becomes in. Brandon did not open it, so he gave it to Sabaya. Sabaya opened it, and therefore it is hers. And the other part of that is she might have the advantage, but the question is, if, let's say for conversation's sake, Brandon found the idol, would that be Brandon's or would that be Sabaya's? The advantage is Sabaya's. However, if somebody else were to get the idol first, the idol is theirs. So that brings up something very interesting, because Sabaya then told people, of course, rookie mistake, hey, I have this advantage. I need some help finding this. So she gets her alliance members to help her find it. And it brought me back to Survivor Co. Wrong, when they were all looking for the idol and they had to like get not a hook, but like a bamboo in a tree and knock it over. And it might have been, I don't remember whose clue it was, but somebody else got the idol because they were able to catch it when it fell out of the tree. So I thought to myself, what if Caleb or Sean grab it? Technically, it would be theirs because they're the ones that have the idol. So, yeah, Sabaya did find the idol, so now she does have the idol. And what's funny about that is it's in wax, because I thought at first, oh my God, that's actually a cool idol. They have to burn the wax to get the idol, and they have had no fire in how many days? So, yeah. And at first I thought Sabaya was going to make her whole game about like, oh, I can't stand Emily. She said this thing to me once and that's it. 'Cause I can't stand that. But they're actually able to, come to a truce in a way. Like, they may not see eye to eye, but they're able to get along enough to be able to live together. So they apologize and, we're cordial. So you get to the immunity challenge, and that was kind of a blowout. And in the sense that, basically they had to jump, hit something to make a key fall into the water. They had to get the key, and they had to unlock puzzle pieces. And this is a new puzzle, so nobody knows okay, no, I know how this goes. Like, it's a big coral puzzle, and it was a blowout in the sense that red and blue kicked Yellow's ass in that challenge. And yeah, so they were all very frustrated, especially at Brandon, because Brandon said how good he was at puzzles. He volunteered for the puzzle challenge and cost his team to lose. And we saw when they went on the journey before that on the journey they had to choose if they wanted to play and risk their vote or keep their vote and go. So Brandon and Drew end up being the ones that decides to risk their vote, and Drew actually finishes the challenge. However, Brandon does not. They have to basically flip the tiles over and pair which ones match. There's 3 that don't. The 3 that don't will make a combination lock, and you have to like arrange the numbers in a certain way, and you have to pull the lever out. It'll release your advantage, and Brandon couldn't do that in time. So if anything, Brandon is a liability because the team can't win with him. Like, when you volunteer for a certain part of a challenge, like, you have to be able to own up. Like, if you end up losing, you have to own up and say, I screwed up, I lost this. But you also have to accept responsibility that might be what gets you voted out. So you have to be really careful, like saying like, oh, I'm good at this, I'm a professional at this, because then if you say that and you step up and you fail, your ass is probably going home. But then on the other hand, it's Emily, because they can't trust her. And Emily was 100% right. Those 3 are together and they have control of the votes right now. And Sabaya arguably has control over the whole tribe right now. So when they get to camp, they're basically Brandon was basically talking about how much Survivors meant to him and how he started watching it in 6th grade. And he's always wanted to come out there. And Emily was talking about how she's perceived out there and how she ended up giving Sabaya her shot in the dark as a sense of goodwill, but also a way to offer trust. And one might look at that as playing smart, because that shows like she's willing to work with them and be loyal. On the other side of that token, one might think that's a fucking dumb move, because Sabaya does not have to give that shot in the dark back. Nothing is forcing Sabaya to give that back. So now, technically speaking, Sabaya has an idol. It's in wax, but she does have an idol, and she has 2 shot in the darks. And somebody did ask, I saw on one of the Survivor pages, how that would exactly work. Can she have 2 shot in the darks? And Jeff did confirm you can have 2 shot in the darks. Like, you can transfer a shot in the dark. However, you can only use 1 shot in the dark at Tribal Council. So that would make things very interesting, because 1 Tribal Council or 1 vote, because if they ever like came to a tie and had to go to a revote, can they use the shot in the dark? But from what I got, I think it's for 1 Tribal Council. So technically speaking, she would have, if let's say Sabaya felt threatened that she might be going home, she can only use 1 of those shot in the darks. So yeah, it ended up being Brandon that got sent home. And part of me feels bad, because as somebody who does have an anxiety disorder, like, I totally get Brandon. I understand that. But then it's complicated, because then I love the fact that he was very open, but it almost makes it bad for anyone else that wants to go out there that has anxiety, because unfortunately people, like, I know at least for my case, when I say I'm on the spectrum, people have this preconceived notions of what autism is without actually understanding it. The thing with anxiety is that we've seen a ton of people with anxiety on there. Maybe not as open as Brandon was, but unfortunately people will look at anxiety and be like, oh, they're going to be a liability. So I think it just makes the game much harder for people that are neurodivergent. And I actually
I actually do admire Brandon for going out there and being able to last as long as he did. I mean, he thought he was going home last week. So while, I mean, life is already hard for us. So even if we, anyone neurodivergent goes out there and Survivor, you're already going to have to work. I didn't say that whole thing right before. What I meant to say was people that are neurodivergent are going to have to work 10 times hard to make it to the end out there. And Brandon was able to surpass expectations in a sense that people would think, like, if you're neurodivergent, that you're not going to last a day. He lasted more than a day. He was second person voted out, but we could actually learn from Brandon and see, okay, where did he go wrong? What were the things he did right? Because in the end, they did respect the fact that Brandon was loyal. Like, they were willing to keep Brandon because they thought they can take him to the end, he'd be loyal. His only downfall, and it had nothing to do with his anxiety. His downfall was that he volunteered for things and he said he was good at puzzles. But when it came to the actual challenges, he was the reason why his team lost. And it's like, one time it's like, okay, we screwed up, move on. When it's more than once, then it's like, you have to go home because at that point you're a liability. So yeah, I'm sorry that Brandon went home, but the game moves on. So yeah, comment down below what you thought about the episode, what you thought of Brandon, what you thought of Sabaya, anybody basically. So yeah, if you want to catch Survivor, it's on Wednesdays 8 p.m. on CBS, and you can live stream it on Paramount Plus. Hope you enjoyed my Survivor recap. Until next time, stay regal.